Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Charlie Pankey, Sierra Magazine, Sierra Now podcast. Welcome to our show again this week. We hope the Sierra is within your sights or in your future, and we are excited to be with you here today. Today is culmination week of what we are calling our 10th anniversary edition here at Sierra Magazine. We're busy putting that together, hoping to have that out by the end of the week here. And one of the things we're going to do today and go through is we got a little update on news here recently that happened this year, kind of give you some our highlights, our thoughts on it and stuff. But we really wanted to spend time to say thank you. And not only just say thank you for showing up and giving us likes and support online. We've enjoyed talking to many of you over the years through social media and different things. But thank you for just loving the Sierra and being part of our journey. We have a lot of writers out there who write for us and people who send us photos and just connect with it different ways. But ultimately, I get to go out and experience the Sierra and just tell you some of my favorite stuff, and that's one of my one of my things that I enjoy the most. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through. I'm hoping through a couple of our top 10s, if you will, our top 10 trails, for example, our top 10 destinations that I have found for myself in the Sierra over the 10 years, and do a few things like that today in our show. Should be normal. We have no guests today, but we do want to be able to make sure that we take time and kind of highlight and do some fun stuff. It's summertime, right? So we just got done with two of maybe the hottest weeks we've ever experienced here in the Sierra for June, early July, right? 4th of July weekend was baking right into the 10th of July. It was just scorching. I know the guys in the valley, you guys are at all kinds of record highs up north, and even Lake Almanor was in the 90s. Yosemite saw high temperature. So we have seen some record heat, and we all have different reasons for that, but it doesn't really matter. It was just hot, right? So some people were out hiking in it. I'm sure they felt those effects. Backpackers still saw plenty of mosquitoes, is what we're hearing. So it's a little bit of a combination of everything right now in the Sierra, but it really is a good summer. And today I actually posted kind of one of our memories of last year. That last year on this week we were still hiking the snow up just on Carson Pass. We were hiking into Immigrant Lake behind Caples Lake and had 4-foot snowdrifts. We were walking across. The lake was still frozen over. There was wildflowers with snow. It's really quite an interesting scene. So a little bit different this year. Most of the snow's melted in most places. I'm sure you still can find it someplace in the Eastern Sierra, but we're just dealing with a little different climate mixture, if you will. Of course, the ACC, it was the ACC. It's the American Century Golf Championship in Lake Tahoe just happened this last weekend, so we had that in town, and new winner for that. Who was the winner for that? It was Marty Fish, which I thought was interesting because I used to know a Marty Fish from Salem, Oregon, played basketball. I don't think the same guy because he wasn't a golfer back there, or a tennis player. But that was kind of fun here in Tahoe. We also had the big steam engine come through Northern California and Nevada. I missed this. I was really sad I couldn't get up and take pictures of that, but they had the huge steam engine come through Portola, go all the way across the Sierra, come down and then back over 80 through Truckee and Reno. So that was really cool to see the old train system. Excuse me there. And but we were putting together this magazine, and so I just didn't have time to do all these events. So excuse me there, man. It's been quite a summer already. I tell you, the one thing I've missed so far this summer, I've been so busy I haven't been able to go out and do Desolation Wilderness as much as I normally do. And so I have some catch up to do there when I'm done with this issue, and hopefully spend some time in Desolation. But if you haven't been following us for a little bit, our 10th anniversary was kind of celebrating kind of all summer about it. We're going to have this issue coming up here this week is our 10th anniversary edition. It has lots of highlights and best of lists and everything. But we did just get back from a backpacking trip in Sequoia National Park. Where we went, we spent 5 days in the park. We did one day, did a full itinerary of Kings Canyon as a tourist, right? Did as much as we could. So we saw Grants Grove, we drove to Rhodes End, saw Zumwalt Meadow, Grizzly Falls, along with all the other little cool things along that drive. I've never driven down that road. It's really quite a highlight. Got to stay at the Princess Campground there between kind of right before Hume Lake turnoff. So like from Grant Grove to Hume Lake, there's a campground down there. Really enjoyed that stay there. And so that was just a really fast 1 day itinerary for us just to see Kings Canyon for our first time, right? So that was really kind of cool. I got a blog up there on our website, just kind of our highlights of what we could see from, say we got there, I think we got there at 1 o'clock, and we stayed down at Roads End until dark or almost dark, and then we drove out. So that was kind of our things. Highlight of that trip, I just didn't understand how big Kings Canyon was and how much it looked like Yosemite Valley down at Roads End. Really does. Like Mirror Point down there remind you just like you're in Yosemite Valley. So I see why everybody loves that. And obviously that's the trailhead for the Rays Lake Loop. So it's very popular backpacking loop. Love to go down and do that sometime. That's a really beautiful area down there. So we really enjoyed that. Next day, we spent all day in Sequoia National Park. So we drove the other side of the about an hour drive to the giant trees. We stopped at Lodgepole, and one of the rangers gave us some advice for how to maneuver through the day and get as much done as possible in Sequoia without backpacking. So we went down and caught the shuttle system at the giant forest out to Morro Rock. Last year I saw Morro Rock with my wife in a complete cloud. We couldn't see anything. So this is the first time I actually got to see the visual from Morro Rock. Really quite awesome to see all the Sierra that way and the Eastern Sierra from that depth. And then we took the shuttle down to Crescent Meadow, and Crescent Meadow is where the High Sierra Trail starts off. So it's beautiful. The Crescent Meadow, all the meadows in the giant forest area are gorgeous. They have wildflowers, lots of big trees. And what we did this year is we decided to walk from there to General Sherman. And last year, my wife and I, we had done from the museum or the Welcome Center to General Sherman on the Alta Trail and some different offshoots. So this time we came from Circle Meadow. Really highly recommend this route if you're trying to see as much as you possibly can. There are so many sequoia back there that are unnamed or just in this giant forest. It's a really nice trail that walks it. We actually took the route that goes to Circle Meadow, which is where my wife and I ended up last year, and then the back door that comes in by McKinley and comes by the old settlers' cabin back in there, the cow cabin. There's a set of trees back there called Hercules that I really like. And then we went and saw the presidents, the Senate, the House, and the president's tree. And it's Chief Sequoia tree. All right, all those are really cool trees. The giant sequoias are amazing, right? I actually prefer the experience away from General Sherman. General Sherman is a zoo. You'll see actually in my magazine, I actually rank General Sherman as one of the top 7 overrated experiences this year. I'm sorry to tell you that. I have 7 experiences this year that I've seen that they're great. They're awesome. But because of the crowd, they're so overrated. There's so many great things right around there. And I'm telling you, within a 20-minute walk of Sherman, you could be some places where it's you and maybe one other person with a tree, and they're just massive. So really cool thing. We finished up after General Sherman. We took the shuttle back, got the car, and we drove down back to Lodgepole. And we hiked into, what's the name of the waterfall down in Lodgepole? Tokopah Falls. A really cool waterfall. Saw some marmots. Had some people think they were beavers, which I thought was kind of funny because there's a lot of people that still don't know what a Sierra marmot is. So we're kind of trying, hey, watch out, there's a beaver up there, which I laughed really. It's like, I wish there was a beaver down here, but it was just some marmots. Saw a lot of marmots actually over the weekend, and the waterfall was very, very much an enjoyable experience late in the day, kind of hot. Stopped at the Marble Fork on the way back down, took a swim, great little river to swim in, and enjoyed our day. But the real purpose of the trip was to go backpacking, and so we backpacked into Silman Pass, which is at Twin Lakes, and we stayed at Twin Lakes for a night. It was our first backpacking trip of the year, so it kind of kicked our butt. There's about 2,000 feet of elevation. I think it's 2,400 feet of elevation from the lodge to camp. You go by Calhoun Meadow, Calhoun Gap, a couple creek crossings. But the final climb up to Twin Lakes is really kind of a butt kicker. Just maybe because it's hot too, it's first season. But we had a beautiful night at Twin Lake, really quiet up there. The lake is okay. It's got a beautiful setting in this granite bowl. The shoreline to find like a swimming hole though is like you have to walk all the way halfway around the lake. There's a lot of grass and stuff around the shore. So we did find a swimming hole. Great place to hang a hammock and stay for the night. Love the Pitt toilet that's up there. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's basically you and the world. Good to see you go to the bathroom there, but it was nice to have a pit toilet there. The next day we climbed over Silman Pass, and that might be one of my favorite places for visual experiences of a Sierra that I've ever seen. Being up on Silman Pass, We stopped there for a while, and then kind of went both south and north. And on the north side, you can climb up on this ridge. It goes over, you can see over Lost Lake, and then back into like the Quad Divide and stuff. It was stunning. Loved seeing Brewer Point and Brewer Peak, and I'm gonna forget all the names, but there's just some beautiful area back there. Really did enjoy that view. That was pretty phenomenal. When I had planned this trip, what I'd seen a photo of a sunrise at this lake. And so that was our destination, though. So we walked down the trail down. It sucks. It's almost looked like there was an avalanche took part of it out. We lost the trail several times. Really wasn't that great of a trail experience from that point forward. Stopped at Ranger Lake for a swim and some lunch, and then we moved on to Lost Lake, which is where we stayed for the night. Lost Lake is not visited very much. It's only got 3 campsites. It's very restricted. It's kind of an area where they're trying to restore some stuff. Matter of fact, the ranger asked me not to pump it up too much and understand why. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was a great night. We had the entire lake to ourselves, and I woke up to one of the most beautiful sunrises I've ever seen in the Sierra. It was really just this perfect bowl of the sun being captured, reflecting on the water. It really helped probably that we were the only people there. Ranger Lake, we know we had lots of people at Ranger Lake, which we passed, and we could have done a loop from there. You could loop around and go with Jo Pass and back out, but we proceeded back to Solon Pass, stayed at Twin Lakes one more night, and actually had even better night at Twin Lakes that night. Really super quiet. Even though there was a lot more people in the area, it was just a super quiet night. And then we climbed up on the ridge, actually one of the bowl ridges on the south side of Twin Lake. It's really kind of fascinating. We climbed up there just to get the view. There's actually a really awesome campsite up on top of the ridge. So if you're a backpacker who can handle the elevation change and doesn't like crowds, when you get to Twin Lake, just go up on the south ridge. There's a great campsite around the point. Probably a little windy up there, but I guarantee you that would have had some solitude to it. It was pretty neat. So overall, absolutely loved the trip. I hope to be able to go back sometime and do another trip. Like I said, I'd love to go back and do that Rays Lake loop. I don't know if the High Sierra loop is in my future, but it would be definitely on my high on my bucket list if I could do it. So that was really great. And then 4th of July, I had a pass to Yosemite, so a day pass to Yosemite. For us, it's a 2-hour drive to the East Gate when Tioga opens. So it's one of my favorite places to go. I make it down about 5-6 times a year. And everything Yosemite is always my favorite. So my friend always says everything's always your favorite. I love Yosemite. I was laughing this week online on Facebook because everybody always asks about what do I do when I go to Yosemite, but everybody always tells them about the valley. And I said, am I the only person in the world when somebody says, where do I go in Yosemite? I never mention the valley. The valley's awesome. I don't want to be one of those people that says I hate Yosemite Valley. It is awesome, but it's way too many people. And so there's so many other great things to see if you have time in Yosemite. So I was kind of suggesting some High Sierra trails that might be well worth it, whether it be Cathedral Lakes. But we went to May Lake and climbed Mount Hoffman on 4th of July. And then paddleboarded in Tenaya Lake, which was a dream of mine. So that was really cool. Mount Hoffman's a really cool experience. Mount Hoffman is higher than Clouds Rest, right? So you're going to climb up to this peak, and then you got a 360 view of the entire Yosemite National Park region. You can see well into Vogelsang area. You can see Clark's Range. You can see all the way back in the northern ranges, White Mountains on the east side. Really got this amazing view from up on top of Mount Hoffman. Right in the middle section, it's a pretty steep and strenuous climb in this sandy, slippery granite area. But once you get through that, it kind of mellows out this really nice trail up to this rock climb that you got to climb up to the point. But the point is just phenomenal. There are probably a dozen marmots that live on top of this peak. They want you to feed them. Don't feed them. Please don't feed the marmots. But they'll come and ask for food. They would literally come up within 6 inches of our boots and just stare at us like, "You're gonna feed me?" Don't do that. But the view over there, right over top of the edge, there's this lake behind me. Like I'm dying to figure out how to get to it. There's no trail. I think you got to go to Slab and do some rock maneuvering. But that's gonna be next to my bucket list a little bit. Love May Lake. May Lake's always been fun, but mosquitoes were bad in May Lake like they always are. May Lake's mosquitoes, I've been on record saying, might be the most aggressive mosquitoes I've ever seen in my life. Doesn't matter if you have DEET or whatever. May Lake mosquitoes, they mean some business. So if you're there early in the season like we were, you're definitely going to experience that. And I've done that before backpacking with my dad there. So I look forward to going back there. So that's kind of what's been up with our summer. And we've done some local trips here and there, and I did make a Desolation for one day, but that's kind of where we're at. So let me get to our list. Okay, here's what's coming up in our issue coming up. I have a top 10 family things that we've seen, top 10. I have the seven overrated places. I have a top 10 just day hikes. But the list I'm working on today, I actually just published it, so I want to share are my 10 favorite spots. Okay, these are my spots. These spots stir my soul, make me relax, just fall in love with being in the high country all the time. So I'm going to share my screen here. I don't really understand what this is probably going to do to my window here, but I'm gonna try this out here and do a Chrome tab, and I'll share my top 10 favorites list, and I'll kind of walk through this here. I'm sorry, I want to do that tab. All right, so first on my list, and you see it here, Upper Youngs Lake, looking back at Ragged Peak, right? So this is my picture here. I hope you can see this. I hope this turned out right. So the first time I made Youngs Lake was about 6-7 years ago with a group of guys, and we stayed at Lower Youngs Lake, which is beautiful. And if you don't know the area, there's a lower, a middle, and an upper. And the upper lake just does something for me. There's this really awesome meadow shore. It goes almost all the way around the lake. The east side's got this granite cliff. Anyways, whenever I'm up there, I'm just telling you, it's like an infinity pool over in the Ragged Peak, and I just fall asleep in the meadow. It is just the most relaxing place. I've actually asked my kids to bury me there. I don't, whatever. That's my place, right? I love Upper Youngs Lake. It's about 7.5 mile hike in from Tuolumne Meadows, moderate to hard hike. There's a great day hike to Roosevelt Lake from there. It's about 2 miles away. But Upper Youngs Lake, there's not a lot of trees for hammock camping up here. But if I was a tent camper, I think I would push on and try to stay up here. It's probably a little windier. Ragged Peak is awesome, and Lower Youngs Lake's great fishing spot. But there's something about Upper Youngs Lake, I'm telling you, it just calms my life. And I love it. I get emotional about it. It's one of these cool places in Yosemite that I adore. So that would be my first place on my list, Upper Youngs Lake. Coming second is actually a group of lakes in a off-trail backpacking experience that it's hard to put into words how awesome these places are. Nelson Lake is the one I photographed here. I don't know if nope, I didn't put those on. Nelson Lake, I wish I could have done that. Nelson Lake is, you go up out of Tuolumne Meadows to Elizabeth Lake and then go off trail up over this ridge. And the Nelson Lake is back about 5 miles. It sits below a rock called Choo Choo Mountain, or I think that's like a layman's term for the rock. It's not the official name, but it's a great place to camp. Usually get up there and only see about one other couple up there, one group. So it really quiet camping. See a lot of coyotes, bald eagles fishing, etc. in this lake. We always connect this lake up with Mathis Lake, which is another phenomenal place. But I never actually stayed at Mathis. Mathis is another place that every time I show up there, I take a nap. I go for a swim, take a nap at Mathis, and then we go on and stay at Echo because it's part of the loop that we are on. But really love that. And then in my home area, one of the lakes that we've visited a couple times, it's one of the prettiest waters in Desolation. I think it's highly underrated, especially since everybody goes to Lake Aloha, is Lake Azure. Lake Azure is out of if you park at Emerald Bay at the Bayview Trailhead, you can walk up the ridge and then back down that ridge, or you can go off trail, going up Cascade Falls, off trail to Snow Lake, and then to Azure Lake. So it's kind of hard to get to. It's not a super easy lake to. Very beautiful lake, though. I really wish I would have set these up so they clicked on it. Apologize. Moving on, just so we keep it on time, in my top 10 list, I love the Avalanche Pitt Ropi Lake section of Desolation Wilderness. You have to actually climb up Horsetail Falls. This is the most common route to get there. So it's not for everybody. Not everybody can get there. You can actually come down from Woods Lake if you like, so that works as well. But Avalanche, Pitt, and Ropi makes this chain of lakes. Ropi is by far one of my favorite places on Earth. It has become much more popular in the last 10 years. 10 years ago when I discovered it, I would go up there and not see a single soul. And now I go up there and there's quite a few backpackers up there, probably people like me sharing it too much. So, shame on me, I guess. But I love that in Desolation Wilderness. And then the Hoover Wilderness, there's quite a few cool places in the Hoover Wilderness, but there's this loop called Green Creek Loop. It connects with the Virginia Lakes Loop. And up above in the kind of the middle is East Lake. And East Lake, every time I go to East Lake, it reminds me of being like in New Zealand or something like that. And so the peaks are a little more rugged, they're a little steeper. East Lake's this big, beautiful body of water. It's kind of got this Lake Aloha feel to it. It's really clear. And it's just this beautiful valley. I wish I would have probably pulled these up a little bigger views. So I do apologize if this pulling up there. So I'll kind of move through these. But look up East Lake and Hoover Wilderness. Shamrock Lake and Steelhead Lake in 20 Lakes Basin, right outside at the east border of Yosemite National Park and Hoover Wilderness as well. Inyo National Forest, I think, is a part of there. That is a great little lake there. Every time I've been to Shamrock Lake, somebody's there, you doing yoga. It's one of those places where you just want to sit and get in your Zen moment. It's really kind of cool. Lots of little islands on it, so I love Shamrock Lake. I almost don't want to share the next one because it is a thing I don't want to overpopulate because it is one of the prettiest places I've ever been on Earth. Parker Pass Lake, which sits on the eastern border of Yosemite and Ansel Adams, is right below Parker Pass. It'd be easy to walk right by, especially if you're on Parker Pass Trail. You're going over the pass there. You can't see the lake. You actually have to walk off trail. Just a couple hundred yards to see a Parker Pass Lake, which sits down in this bowl. It's got this glacial clear blue water. It's right here. It had some snowpack this year, and then these really red and black crumbly rocks that feed into it. There's a lot of deer in there. It is absolutely one of the most beautiful places on Earth, in my opinion. So don't destroy it, please. This last trip we made to Lost Lake. This was my sunrise picture here. Again, really small. Let's see if I can zoom in. I'll move these guys up a little bit. So Lost Lake was beautiful. I'm going to go put that. One of my favorite waterfalls, I should have Nevada Falls on here, is absolutely one of my favorite places. But if you're looking for a waterfall that surprisingly is awesome, Tuolumne Falls on the trail from Tuolumne Meadows to Glen Allen High Camp, right above the high camp. Right as the river starts to go into the Grand Canyon of Yosemite is Tuolumne Falls. It's a very powerful, big, sweeping waterfall. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. And then finally, Townsley Lake. This used to have a different name to it, I think. I think some people call it Upper Fletcher Lake. And on my map, it's called Townsley Lake. And Hanging Basket Lake is right in this little hole right up above that, if you see that. One of the reasons I showed this picture, the Townsley Lake was one of those things. You ever walk up to a place and you just went, oh, when you walked up? That was Townsley Lake for us. We did the Vogelsang high camp and all kinds of lakes around there. We did this whole big loop a few years back. And when we walked up to Townsley Lake, I literally took my breath away. It was such a pretty picture. The water was a nice swim. It was just a great day. This rock up here on top, it had the prettiest marble color of granite through there. So I really love Townsley Lake. Haven't been back since then. I hope to maybe see it again this fall. We're going to do the trip, my son and I, back down through the Vogelsang area back to Yosemite Valley. So I hope to stop by there. Here's that Mathis Lake picture I wanted to show you from the Nelson Lake trip. That's just a phenomenal place. Again, I've taken a nap right about here over on the right hand. These trees every time. There's Nevada Falls, which should be on my list because that's probably the best waterfall in the Sierra, in my opinion. This is a waterfall that comes into Ropi Lake from Desolation Lake. Quite an awesome experience in Desolation. And then if you're ever just looking to go one of these experiences where you see what the water is in Yosemite or in the Sierra, highly recommend a early June, early July trip up Lyell Canyon, where you can follow the Tuolumne River all the way up into Donahue Pass. The water in the river are so full and so clear. There's so many great spots like this to turn around and look at. So that is kind of my list. And I'm going to stop sharing here, go back to studio. It's been a great 10 years. I've driven 500 miles up and down north and south of this ridge. I've been over it on every single pass. And I've seen some things that there's no way I could record again after 10 years. Everything I've seen. There's so many different wonderful places. I've had great partners, St. Bernard's Lodge, Plumas County, Feather River Association, the Carson Valley, who are my sponsors. Please stay on for the video here in a few moments for them. Carson Valley has been my home base for 10 years, and I just love the fact that I can get into everywhere. I think people like, Sail Tahoe Blue and Kern River Rafting Company, Lasting Adventures down in Yosemite. All these guys are sponsors of mine who have helped me bring this content to you over the years, that continues to support me and the message, and just share this content of the Sierra with the entire goal of helping everybody discover more of the Sierra. That's what our whole purpose the last 10 years have been, is that you don't go to Mammoth and Lake Tahoe and that's all you ever do, but realize that in Lake Tahoe you're miles from Alpine County, which has Kirkwood and Caples Lake and Silver Lake and Hope Valley and the river system. And then, if you're in Mammoth, you're literally 20 miles from the east gate of Yosemite if you want to be there, or all the stops you can do down south as you're going up. And so that's our purpose, is really to kind of help you spread out, to see more, to experience more. And maybe we prevent some of these crowds that are starting to destroy some of our areas as we spread out and discover our secrets too. We've had some tremendous writers for us. They've written about, Bill Finch at Desolation Wilderness, all his love for Desolation Wilderness. Craig Cooper up in Truckee, who has been an all-star about going on some awesome hikes, especially down in Eastern Sierra area. He has more write-ups coming up. I just think about some of those writers who have written for us and just shared the story. I really appreciate their voice. Welcome people all the time to share their favorites. Maverick, down below, do me a favor. Just stop for a moment, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. But leave me a comment and tell me your favorite place in the Sierra. And if it's Lake Tahoe, great. If it's Mammoth, great. Just tell me what your favorite spot is. And I know that's really taboo, okay? So if you don't want to share your favorite, share your third favorite, okay? I understand, especially you fishermen. You don't tell anything, I understand. But let's go ahead and let's help people see some of the beauty of the Sierra in our magazine. Check it out this week. It's not just that. We have a complete lineup of different favorites, and we want to shout those out. So thank you. Thank you for coming along. I don't know how long you guys will allow me to talk about the Sierra and support me on that, but we do appreciate it very much. And we look forward to seeing you out there. If you see me on the trail, say hi. And if nothing else, you haven't seen the Sierra lately, we hope it's in your sights, in your future. And we want you to go out and discover more. Have a great week wherever you're at. And we'll see you again next week on our show here. Have a great day.